Well, this week the Jewish world has been celebrating Passover and remembering how that God set their ancestors free from slavery in Egypt some 3,500 years ago. Did you know that there is an even bigger event prophesied in the Hebrew prophets? Well, welcome to this week's Shabbat Shalom devotional, when I try to share just a little inspiration and bring a little peace to the close of your busy week. If you're listening to us on an audio format, I've been told my voice is very calming, so I hope that it does bring you some peace. But for those of you watching on our video platforms, I hope you're enjoying the new background and you see the city of Jerusalem as Shabbat is beginning to settle in. Just allow that rest and that peace to fill your heart. So as I said last week, the Jewish people have been celebrating the Exodus for 3,500 years. It's the moment that they were taken from death into life. They were given a hope and a future. It was a watershed moment in their history. And they were commanded to remember and celebrate it throughout all of their generations. But the Hebrew prophet said that one day something even greater than the Exodus miracle was going to happen. I want to read it for you out of Jeremiah 23, verses 7 through 8. Therefore, behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when they will no longer say, as the Lord lives, who brought up the sons of Israel from the land of Egypt, but as the Lord lives, who brought up and led back the descendants of the household of Israel from the northland and from all the countries where I had driven them. Then they will live on their own soil. So this is saying that one day God would miraculously bring the Jewish people back to their ancient homeland from all the countries in which they had been in exile. It would be such a miracle that it would overshadow the Exodus story. Well, this, my friends, is happening in our very day. The Jewish people have come home to Israel. You know, no other people group had been in exile, scattered throughout the world for 2,000 years and retained themselves as a nation, much less after 2,000 years returned to their ancient homeland and reestablished sovereignty and made an ancient dead language live again. It is such a miracle story. This scripture specifically mentions the land of the north. You know, over 1 million Jews have made their way out of the land of the north of Russia to make their way to Israel. I remember back in the 1980s when the Jews then in the former Soviet Union were not allowed to leave. They weren't allowed to practice their religion or to even learn about Israel. And many were in prisons. They were called refuseniks because they were not allowed to immigrate to Israel. Instead, they were imprisoned. So we prayed for them. We held rallies for them around the world, calling for their release. We knew that God was going to let them go, but we didn't know, would it be in peace or would they be fleeing for their lives? Thank God they were able to leave in peace. And after the Iron Curtain fell in 1989, 1990, the doors just opened and they were allowed to leave. And since then, over 1 million Jews have left the former Soviet Union, now Russia, and come to Israel. So you serve a mighty God who is sovereign. He is Lord over all of history. And what he says will happen, it will happen. No miracles are too big for him. So as you take a break this weekend and bring your needs to the Lord and reflect upon his greatness, remember the words of Jesus when he said, "What is impossible with man is possible with God." And with that, I wish you Shabbat Shalom.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Out of Zion with Susan Michael. Be sure to subscribe to Out of Zion Now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Pray.com, Salem One Place, Salem Life Audio. Out of Zion with Susan Michael is a production of ICEJ USA. All rights reserved.